Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chairman. I want to point out that I'm going to try and enforce the 8 minutes. If you hear a tapping, it is not personal. Senator Rockefeller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, Mr. Brennan. And it confirms you're going to lead an extraordinary agency with extraordinary people who perform extraordinary services, most of them totally unknown by the American people. Most people don't think about that, what it is to do a life of public service and never have anything known. Those of us who sit up here do a life of public service and want everything that we do to be known. That's how we get elected. It's a very different ethic in the Central Intelligence Agency and all intelligence agencies, and I respect it very much. I want to go to the EITC, sorry, that's Earned Income Tax Credit, to the enhanced interrogation techniques. Well, I'm for both. I'm not for the second, I'm for the first. You talk about the 6,000 pages. What I want to say, and what if a second round comes, I will, I'm going to pour out my frustration on dealing with the Central Intelligence Agency and dealing with various administrations about trying to get information. Why was it that they felt that we were so unworthy of being trusted? Why was it that they were willing to talk to Pat Roberts and me, or Saxby Chambliss and Dianne Feinstein, but not anybody else? Until we literally bludgeoned them, Kit Bond and I, into agreeing to include everybody. Like Carl Levin's not trustworthy. You know, I mean, it's amazing. And I pursue Dianne Feinstein's point about staff. When you go and you have, under the previous administration, a briefing with the president, or the vice president, or the head of the CIA, others, you're not allowed to. I can remember driving with Pat Roberts when he was chairman and I was vice chairman. We weren't allowed to talk to each other, driving up or driving back. Weren't allowed to do that. Staff were a part of nothing. You have to understand that you're surrounded by people who work with you and fill you in, people who are experts. We are too, but they got to be part of this. They got to be part of when the OLC comes, it should come to them also. I strongly support the chairwoman's view on that. Now, in the enhanced interrogation techniques matter, a handful of former senior CIA officials who were personally invested and are personally invested in defending the CIA's detention interrogation program, largely because their professional reputations depend on it. Purport to speak for the CIA and its workforce on this issue, and I think it does all a great disservice. In my office, you and I discussed the committee's landmark report on this program. You do understand that this took 6 years to write. Not just 6,000 pages, but 6 years to write, perhaps longer. 23,000, 30,000 footnotes. Why did we do this? We did this because we heard nothing from the intelligence agency. We had no way of being briefed. They would not tell us what was going on. So we had to do our own investigation, and we're pretty good at it. And when you read those first 350 pages, you told me that you were shocked at some of what you read. You did not know that. And that to me is shocking, but not to condemn anybody, simply says that has to be fixed and changed forever. There never can be that kind of situation again, where we have to tell you what's going wrong in your agency, and thus demoralizing some of the people in your agency who want to be relieved of the burden and the taint of bad techniques and interrogation. They suffer from that, and yet nobody would talk with us about that. We had to get that information on our own. It's a magnificent piece of work. I think it's a piece of history. It'll go down in history because it will define the separation of powers as between the intelligence committees of the House and Senate and the agency and others that relate to it. I'm also very aware that this is all crucial to the president's authority. not just on the more modern question of the day about drones, but, you know, that determination is made by one person and one person alone. And if there is a breakdown in protocol, if there is a breakdown in line of command, in reacting, therefore, into something which is not good, where there's too much collateral damage. I think, for the most part, I would agree with the chairwoman. I believe she said this, that the work of the drone had been fairly safe. However, any collateral damage is unacceptable, and that has to be the purpose of the agency. And therefore, this detention interrogation program, I've got to say, it was the people who ran it were ignorant of the topic, executed by personnel without relevant experience, managed incompetently by senior officials who did not pay attention to crucial details, and corrupted by personnel with pecuniary conflicts of interest. It was sold to the policymakers and lawyers at the White House, the Department of Justice, and Congress with grossly inflated claims of professionalism and effectiveness, so-called lives saved. It was at a low point in our history. And this document, this book, should change that forever. I would hope very much that you would, if you are confirmed, which I hope you will be, that you will make parts of this, at your discretion, required reading for your senior personnel, so they can go through the same experience that you went through. Are you willing to do that?
Yes, Senator, I am looking forward to taking advantage of whatever lessons come out of this chapter in our history and this committee's report.
How do you cross-reference, and tell me when I'm out of time? I got to...
8 seconds. No, a minute and 8 seconds.
A minute and 8 seconds,
Yeah,
yes.
right, long time.
The cross-referencing of the EIT disaster and the future of the drone and the decisions that only the president, of course, can authorize that, but the decision sometimes is passed down and has to be passed down in a very accurate manner. And there has to be a protocol which is exact, more exact even than the interrogation techniques, because I think that's sort of been put to bed just a bit. It's beginning to get straightened out. But the drones are going to grow. There's going to be more and more of that warfare, not just by us, but by other countries, including perhaps by people from within our own country. So the protocol of that, insofar as it would refer to a particular agency, is going to have to be exact and directed and of particular excellence and exactitude. How will that happen?
Senator, you make an excellent point, and that's what I'm most interested in, is finding out what went wrong. If this report is, as stated, accurate, what went wrong in the system where there were systemic failures, where there was mismanagement or inaccurate information that was put forward, because there are covert action activities that are taking place, you know, today under the direction and management of the CIA. And I would have the obligation to make sure I could say to this committee that all of those covert action programs are being run effectively, they're being well managed, they're being overseen, and that the measures of effectiveness, the results of those programs, are an accurate and fair representation of what actually is happening. This report raises serious questions about whether or not there are serious systemic issues that are at play here. I would need to get my arms around that, and that would be one of my highest priorities if I were to go to the agency.
I thank you.